DarkViperAU, a speedrunner of GTA 5 and an all-around cool dude, recently made a video commenting on GradeAUnderA's "COVID is overhyped" video. DarkViper is known for his chaos plays of GTA 5 most recently, and I watch him quite often. GradeA is known for his silly videos, and only recently has he decided to make a political video of this nature. Rather than waste any time, I'll get right into the video and confront each point as I feel they deserve confronting. DarkViper starts the video by putting forward various scenarios. In most of these scenarios, the devil's advocate character typically always makes the point that the measures taken to prevent disaster weren't worth it because disaster didn't happen.
Exclaims, "Why did we bother with all these measures that we put forth to prevent and combat forest fires? There was only 50% of the forest fires compared to what was expected, and only 25% of the damage was caused by those that did occur. Clearly all this money and time that we spent was not worth it at all."
I find this very odd, as Grade never made this point. He never states that the measures taken weren't ones we should have.
Listen, COVID's been talked about like it's this deadly thing that wants to and will kill everybody, right? But after seeing these crap figures and specific demographics, I can't help but feel that there's been a lot of fear-mongering going on. Do you know what I mean?
He continues to harp on about this point as if the word overhyped means that it shouldn't have been worried about at all, which just isn't true. He later makes a point about long-term health effects shown here. The article this is attached to gets its figures from various other test groups of, at minimum, over 100 people and within the English language. Just to establish what it means by long-term effects, it specifies only effects that last beyond 12 weeks and are not explained by an alternative diagnosis. The paper mostly discusses what this means and what it could allude to, but doesn't come to a conclusion and simply presents the data it is given as best it can, with no real definitive statistic reached or real hard facts the paper itself can stand behind. This partially does away with his "if I stab Grade with thumbtacks in a box" portion, as that, as far as I'm aware, based on how thumbtacks work, having never been stabbed with one, is more obviously observed. He then mentions that assessing whether the worry, fear some might say, in response to COVID was justified based on only one statistic is, quote-unquote, not very smart. While I understand his point, the devil's advocate in Grade's videos are things I've actually heard people say, as fear-mongering and panic is quite common when it comes to all this. He then continues on to a point about spreading the disease to others, even after you get over the disease yourself. The specific example he uses is high-fiving people. This is possible, but not incredibly likely.
A couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks of being able to spread it. So you walk around high-fiving people like, "Hey man, have some COVID."
The CDC states that the three main ways of spreading COVID are breathing in air when close to an infected person who is exhaling small droplets and particles that contain the virus, having these small droplets and particles that contain the virus land on the eyes, nose, or mouth, especially through splashes and sprays like a cough or sneeze, touching eyes, nose, or mouth with hands that have the virus on them. In this example, they would take the high five and then brush their face before washing their hands, which is very possible. The issue then becoming that it encroaches onto personal responsibility at that point. During flu season, and when COVID first started, almost every place you could go with a sink had a huge "wash your hands" sign. People should be more careful than that, no matter if the guy who just high-fived you is an inconsiderate douche nozzle or not. He then follows up about future diseases and mutations, or what COVID will be like in 10 years. These are not good points. No one has any idea what it's going to be like, and choosing this line of argument is not a good call.
Gives more opportunities for additional mutations to happen that might eventually be lethal to you. The measures against COVID aren't just to combat COVID now, but what it could be in 10 years.
DarkViper then points out that Grade points at a chart that says underlying health conditions while saying serious underlying health conditions. Since neither of these YouTubers did, I took the liberty of looking up what that meant.
96% of them had some other serious underlying health condition.
The paper I'm using, provided by North Dakota Health, Be Legendary, specifies that underlying medical conditions that put you at increased risk for potential severe and life-threatening outcomes from COVID-19 infection are cancer, chronic lung disease, serious heart conditions, including coronary artery disease or cardiomyopathies, obesity with a BMI of 30 or more, type 2 diabetes, chronic kidney disease, conditions that cause you to be immunocompromised, such as HIV, sickle cell disease, pregnancy, smoking, or Down syndrome. The paper goes on to include underlying medical conditions that might put you at increased risk, but not necessarily will. These include asthma, cerebrovascular disease, cystic fibrosis, hypertension, neurological conditions such as dementia, liver disease, being overweight, which is a BMI of 26 to 29, pulmonary fibrosis, which is scarred lung tissue, and thalassemia, which is a type of blood disorder, and type 1 diabetes. Dark Viper makes a point of the difference being around 5 seconds and mentions his own disease as well, Hashimoto's. This disease is not included in the underlying health conditions for COVID-19, as specified by North Dakota Health, who sources the CDC's own page about said conditions as well at the bottom of theirs.
I have Hashimoto's disease, which would have been a death sentence, quite a while back there. But currently, I take half a pill a day and I'm going to live till I'm 100. If I got COVID and died, they'd scratch on it, had a comorbidity, had fucking Hashimoto's. But COVID was still stolen from me like 70 years of life.
He maintains a hyperbolic argument for the rest of the video before ending it to make it more in time with Grade's video. Now that the video's done, I thought we could move on to the description and comments on Dark Viper's video as made by Dark Viper himself. It's mostly personal attacks. He makes references to Grade's perceived stupidity, how he's no longer relevant, and how Grade is a fossil, further cheapening his own argument. There's also a reference to his moral bankruptcy, which is as subjective as something can get, and has no real place in this argument. Both videos have plethoras of problems. From Grade, you can expect it. His videos are typically satirical and very clearly hyperbolic, so that's his style. Dark Viper's is filled with issues in the sense that he argues a point never made and personally attacks someone for said point. I personally have no stake in the matter. I believe COVID was overhyped, not in the sense that we shouldn't have done anything, as Viper seems to believe, but that it was rife with fear-mongering and needless panic. I also believe the vulnerable should be protected and that the country failed that objective. In my opinion, this was poorly handled by both parties, both Dark Viper and Grade, more so on Dark Viper's side, as Grade's was clearly hyperbolic, that's his style, and Dark Viper's was clearly heated and filled with personal attacks. It was incredibly unnecessary, and I felt I had to say something, even in the unlikely event that this does anything or reaches any significant ears. I just thought it was important to do my part, at the very least, to say something, even if it won't necessarily do anything, if that makes any sense. I believe it is my responsibility to, at the very least, do something, even if all I do is ward off a little bit of misinformation for a few scant people. I did make 2 comments on the Dark Viper video itself. Unsurprisingly, I was immediately attacked as if I made the same exact argument Dark Viper assumes that Grade did, through no fault of Dark Viper himself. Obviously, that is his commenter's responsibility, not his. It is not his responsibility in any way, shape, or form how people responded to me under his video. He is completely blameless in that aspect. I just thought I should share exactly how I was received. Shown is the screenshot of the comment I left on Dark Viper's video. I would have shown the reply as well, but every time I try to add the screenshot of the reply, it pretends like I didn't, and the video editing software just kind of pretends it doesn't exist. Since I can't find out the issue, I'm just going to leave it out and let people go look for it if they so desire. As always, thanks everybody for watching. I super duper appreciate it. I just wanted to make this video almost as soon as I saw Dark Viper's little response. I really wanted to say something about it, as it's filled with misinformation and just really personally attacks someone who there really should be no business personally attacking for what is an opinion, especially on the grounds of moral subjectivity. It just seems odd. On that note, definitely don't harass anybody. You know the drill. Don't do this, don't do that. Yada, yada, yada. You know what to do. Don't harass people. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. If not, because of this back and forth, I completely understand. In the meantime, I'll see everybody next time. Peace.